Welcome to Sane-ish, the podcast for people healing from trauma, addiction, abuse, mental health struggles, grief, narcissists, and every other flavor of chaos life can throw at you, and somehow still functioning, mostly. I'm your host, Holly Broughton, survivor, truth teller, boundary setter, and proud member of the Still Healing, Still Hilarious Club. Around here, we don't do shame or embarrassment. We don't do perfection. Just real talk, dark humor, hard truth, and a whole lot of hope. Because sanity is overrated. And healing? That shit is messy. This is Sane-ish. Let's get into it. Disclaimer. On the Sane-ish podcast, we discuss personal stories of alcoholism, addiction, mental health, chronic illness, narcissistic abuse, domestic violence, SA, HT, parental alienation, grief, loss, homelessness, as well as many other forms of adversities in life. Our intention is to be inspirational, educational, identifiable, and resourceful. The views and experiences shared are in no way meant to praise or condone any illegal or harmful behavior. This content is for educational purposes only and not intended as professional advice. If you or someone you know is struggling with any of the above, we strongly suggest seeking help from a qualified professional, support service, or hotline related to your specific issue. Hi, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of Stacia Morris' story. And we will get to it shortly, but I want to extend my gratitude to her for being so patient and extend my gratitude to you for being so patient, for waiting for me to get this message to you. It's been a road, but I think the message is worth it. So she certainly has been a blessing, and I think her message is too, and the fact that she was nervous when she started out and certainly overcame it will hopefully show some of you out there that you can certainly overcome your anxiety and panic attacks and hopefully eventually get your stories out there as well. So anyway, I will shut up and we will allow her to get to her story and let her finish. So here we go. Onward. Stacia Morris, part 2.
So
Sure.
they had me diagnosed within 2 weeks of being there. I was still detoxing.
Yeah.
And then, going to see other doctors throughout this time, I literally had a doctor tell me when I was like, look, this is not what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And this medication is not what I need. He literally told me, are you going to tell me how to do my job? You went to medical school? I'm the professional.
Yeah. That happens sometimes, I do have to say.
So then there were all these years that I just felt like, I don't know, I didn't quite feel right. But I also felt like I couldn't trust anyone in the psychology field, or the psychiatric field. I couldn't trust them because they wanted to zombify me, and then I had no voice. They wouldn't listen, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Which is a good point, Stacia, because I think that's why I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself, because that's one of the reasons why I became an RSPS and an MHPS, is because I myself realized that I had to advocate for myself.
I think there was a point where I just gave up on a lot of that. And I think, so at this time that I had been out of safety the first time, so I went to the halfway house. I got out. I went to a sober living house. I was there for 3 months. I moved out. I got a home, this little like 1.5 bedroom place. The kids were starting to come over on the weekends, and then the guy that I had been with, I like moved back in, and within 6 months I was on heroin again. And I remember my son telling me, he's like, "Mom, you do so good, and then you yank the rug out from underneath us."
Wow.
And so we ended up both going to jail. We got kicked out of that house. We both went to jail. He did a few months. Nope. He did almost a year because he ended up going to prison and going to like a state jail. He went to state jail. I did like a month because I took my time on this 3 years probation, but I had all this back time, right? Because I had been in jail again, to the women's center, to Save P. Like, I had like 22 months back time on a year state jail. Who the fuck does that? And so, I was there for about a month. I got out. I was trying to hold stuff together. Look, I just keep missing holes, big holes. So at one point, when I was in kind of the worst of it, but like my dad was trying to help me, I ended up moving in with and being roommates with this guy that I met in NA, and I was really struggling to stay clean. It was like right when drug court told me I couldn't live with my kids anymore, and I was trying to find a job. I was trying to stay clean. And, someone said, "Hey, like, get a job, pay some rent, you can live here." And I was just grateful. And I thought this person was clean because originally I'd met them in NA. And one night he broke my door down and violently raped me for hours. And I called my best friend, who called my dad the next morning, and I called the police. And ultimately, the police were, since I was a known drug addict, I must have just slept with them, and when the drugs ran out, yelled rape, right? And so victims assistance wouldn't help me. I didn't get any help. My best friend at the time, her and her husband were amazing. They let me move in with them for a little while. But that was just one more thing that made me sink further. Another thing I glossed over because I do put things out of my mind is, I was sexually assaulted when I was younger, and then this, and it just crumbled and broke me at the time. Right. So,
And I would like to mention too, since you said that, there are places out there that do support women when that happens. It doesn't matter what in
yeah,
there are
I think
there are places.
for me, I was so angry because how do you have a rape kit
Mhm.
done? And I know what happened, right? So how do you
Yeah,
have a rape kit done and you have DNA and you're like, she's a dope whore. You know? Like I was just so, but you know what? Once again, my dad, man, once again, my best friend came and my dad was at the hospital the whole time they were doing the kit. And, he made sure I was safely in my best friend's hands, and they went and got my crap out of that house. And so, yeah, so there was that. It's funny because you would be amazed at what the 12 steps can do for someone.
but still, and I understand there's two sides. I mean, like, not I'm not negating that that happened to you. It shouldn't have
Mhm.
happened. And I do know that there's women that use that for other things, which isn't right because it
Mhm.
makes real stuff like that when it does in fact happen,
Discounted, sure.
discount it. Yes.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry that that happened that way.
When I say you can be amazed at what the 12 steps can do for you, it's funny because this is something that my dad didn't know. And when we had that same conversation I was telling you about earlier, where, I was telling him that, there were things that I had to work through and that I had to
Sure.
get over, right? And
Sure.
when I got out of SAP this last time, that same person was in my aftercare, but I could not go.
Right.
I could not go. I'd go back to prison.
Yeah.
I had to figure out a way to sit in the same room with that person sometimes. Not every time I went, but sometimes I had to sit in the same room with that person. And I had to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And when I was working steps, I was told that you sponsor says you pray for them for 14 days.
Right.
And you pray that they get all the desires of your heart and that they be blessed even more than you. Fuck that. I'm not praying for that motherfucker. He can go to hell. I mean, that's how I felt, right? But she said, okay, well, how like free do you want to be? How angry do you want to stay? Because he's obviously living his fucking life, right?
Right. Yeah.
I seethed on it for like a month, and then I started praying. And then so I had to, so what, after the 14 days, what then? And
Yeah.
she's like, Stacia, pray for another fucking 14 days. And I did. And eventually, in my sick mind, God's going to change them.
Yeah.
But what happened was my perception of them changed. My perception of the event changed.
Yeah.
I'm able to look at it with even a little bit of detachment. It doesn't hurt the way it used to. And I see them as pathetic and sick and someone who should be pitied, not feared. So the control that had over me, that fear and that resentment and all of that, I don't carry that anymore.
Yeah.
So, when people ask me like what are some of the benefits of recovery, that's a benefit of recovery. And I know that like in peer support that we, welcome all paths to recovery, but the 12 steps is the path that I chose and it is what worked for me. And it worked for me in many other things than just not putting drugs in. Right.
Right. Right. Me too.
So, yeah. So
And
it's,
sometimes you have to, you have to levitate and look at, like, say, for instance, in that situation, you have to look at the big picture
Mhm.
and sometimes look at, you know, maybe how he was raised, the traumas that he had.
Mhm.
Who the fuck knows, like,
Right.
why he did what he did, and forgive. Not that what he did was right at all, but whatever.
So
Forgive him, whatever,
So the director of the foundation I now work with heard her husband say one time, and it just blew me away. And I've carried this with me for years. But forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It's a decision, right?
Right. Mhm.
Forgiveness does not mean that whatever doesn't still hurt. It doesn't mean that I condone what you did. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you have to be a part of my life. It doesn't mean that I ever have to fuck with you again.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that what you did is okay. All it
Right.
means is I make a decision right now today to not let that shit hold my life back anymore. And so,
Forgiveness is for me. Forgiveness
yeah,
is for me, not you.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's like my sponsor told me, how free do you want to be?
right.
Like, how much do you want to move on? So, yeah. So, let's see, where were we? Okay, so we lose that house. He goes to prison. I get out of jail. I did like a month. I did a month because I had so much back time. I just had to go to court and have them cut me loose. And once again, my kids are so disappointed in me. And I get out and I go back to my mom's and I'm trying to hold it together again. And my best friend, somebody, not this one of my two best friends, not the girl that let me move in with them, but my guy best friend, he gets into a wreck on his motorcycle and he passes away. There went any thoughts of getting my shit together. And so then I was back out there using. So, I've got this boyfriend, or really at this point, he's like my common law husband, and he's in jail and he's talking about, when I come home and, you know, let's like try to do this sober thing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm balls to the wall, out here. So when he came home, of course, I tripped him up this time. And, we, I mean, things just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And then in August in August of 2020, he passed away
Mm.
and I went left. I think my mental health and my addiction went to new levels of I managed to find someone where I started selling heroin
Mm.
and fentanyl. I was selling like fentanyl and heroin. and I was selling enough to be able to do about an eighth to a quarter ounce a day was like my person. I was actively trying to kill myself. And every time I woke up and every time I did a shot and woke up and was still alive, I was fucking angry.
Wow.
And throughout like the last year of him being alive and the 6 months after he died, I racked up, about a year before he died and about 6 months after, I racked up like a shit ton of charges. I racked up a bunch of like, for a long, long time, I was a booster, right? So and there was a time we didn't have a car. I walked into the same 5 stores every single day and stole shit to sell
Mhm.
to keep us in a hotel and, you know, and dope and food and cigarettes and whatever. So I never got caught with the big shit. I don't know how, but I racked up, like, so many Class B misdemeanor thefts that they enhanced 5 of them to felonies.
Mhm.
And when I finally got arrested on February 11th, 2021, um, I had 13 charges.
Wow.
I had well, when I got arrested, I had 13 charges. I had, um, 5 felonies, and I had 8 misdemeanors, and then after I hired an attorney. I had a pretty good amount of money in my pocket when I got arrested. And so I had my dad come get my money. He hired, I had him go pay my attorney, whatever. They tacked on 2 more felony drug charges. He got those dismissed. He really did right by me as far as attorneys go. I had 13 charges, 5 felonies, 8 misdemeanors, which really ended up being 7 felonies, 8 misdemeanors. He got my 2 felony drug charges dropped, so I pled out to 5 felony thefts, and then I had, like, a couple of trespassings, a misdemeanor theft, I think maybe 2 misdemeanor thefts, a couple of trespassings, and then a misdemeanor controlled substance, and I pled out to the thefts and the controlled substance. And, he got me safe P with 5 years paper. I was trying to go to Senacor. I'd asked the judge if I could go to Senacor, and, I'd already put in the application and been accepted to Senacor, but the judge said, "No, no Senacor." And so then like, I'm pissed off you didn't give me what the fuck I want, So,
Yeah.
I told him, "Well, I'll just take my time because I had like an 18-month cap. They couldn't give me any more than 18 months, you know? So, no,
Mhm.
I'll take my time." He's like, "Oh, no, you won't. You need help, remember? You're going to safe fee." And I said, "Oh, this shit again." And this time I went to a different unit. I went to what they call the special needs unit. So that's like anyone who takes any kind of mental health medication is going to go to the special needs unit. And there I found a doctor that would listen. He listened. He listened to my concerns, and I was able to get properly diagnosed and properly medicated. And something else happened while I was in there too, man. I guess after losing my common law husband, I was broken. Like, I thought that I had the gift of desperation before, but something was just different. I was broken in a different way.
Mhm.
And I started, like, listening and paying attention to some stuff. And like, so they have these things called AO cycles and thinking reports.
Mhm.
And I'd done them the first time I was at SAP because it's like the addiction offender cycle.
Mhm.
And you do a thinking report and find out like your errors in thinking and whatever. And I'd done them the first time I was at SafeP, but I didn't really do them. It
Mhm.
didn't sink in. And I think that was something that was like really amazing to me because I had like the strictest counselor that they had. Man, Miss Smith, if you ever see this, I love you. Like I had the strictest counselor, right?
Mhm.
People hated this woman. I loved her. She was like a drill sergeant. You was gonna do your shit.
Mhm.
And she had us do so many of those. We had to do like, I don't know, like several a week. But it taught me how I think. Like
Yeah.
it really made me look at like if my first thought begins with a cuss word, I'm probably fixing to do something stupid. If my face gets hot and I feel pinprickies and my hands start sweating, I'm about to do something stupid. But it taught me how to realize those things and then to see like that a lot of the issue I've had in my life too is like unrealistic expectations,
Yeah.
right? Or I fail to see patterns. I don't think of time in the correct way. When something happens, that's going to be forever,
Right.
you know? Yeah. So it taught me a lot about how I think. And then I came home and, well, I went to a halfway house and continued going to meetings and I did my aftercare. I got rid of fucking social media. Like when I was first at the halfway house, I had social media for a little while, but I got fucking rid of that shit because it's
Yeah.
bad for my mental health, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I lose hours. I lose hours. Like I'm so unproductive when I
Yeah.
have that shit. I lose hours scrolling. And I really don't need to compare my fucking life to anybody else's.
Well, you're right. When I sometimes when I don't post that often, but when I do post, I usually say, hey, for those of you who have perfect lives, you might want to keep scrolling because this post is not perfect.
We don't do
This is
perfection,
this is
right?
my life.
Yeah.
This is my this is my life. So, and it's usually me falling down the stairs or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, well, what does that fool say in, what does that fool say in To Wong Fu, that movie? He's like, "Your acceptance is neither desired nor required." That's how I feel now, you know? I started to so let me tell you how my God works, okay?
Sure.
So, I did somebody who I had my little brother is in the military, and I always thought he was so crazy. Like, why would you go and sign that much of your life away and have people tell you when to piss and when to shit and when to eat and when to sleep and where to go, where to live? Like, that's crazy to me, right? But then this time when I was in SAP, I realized that I thrive in structure.
Oh yeah.
It's really good for me, right? And so even at the halfway house, like I went there, I got a job. They actually made me top structure. Like I was the one running the like house and the groups, and it was crazy. Like me, okay.
Yeah.
But I did really well there, and, I went to every meeting I could. Had my previous sponsor, would come and work with me a little bit because my first call when I got there was not to my family because they already knew where I was going and what day I was going, and I had already sent a list of, clothes, toiletries, whatever I needed, so I already knew that that stuff was gonna be delivered, so when I got my first phone call, it was to my old sponsor. It was one of the few numbers I could remember,
Hmm.
and it was to her like, "Hey, will you" you know? And, she was like, "Man, I'd be honored." So, we started just working together while I was there a little bit, and, they allowed her to pick me up and take me to a meeting every now and then so we could spend some one-on-one time on the way there and the way back.
Hmm.
And, I had a really great counselor while I was there. I met some really great friends while I was there that I'm still friends with today. Shout out Monica and Fox. Then when it was time to go, I was lucky too. Like I got a job working at Golden Corral and I was putting some money aside. I had asked, okay, so every time I go to my mom's, y'all, it's so overwhelming. Like I said, me and mama, I can't live with my mama. I can't. And then I'm always like, I've been gone for a year or two or whatever, right? So my kids are mama, 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 and whatever, even though they're older now, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But still, it's really overwhelming. And I try to jump in and do too much too quick, right?
Hmm.
Because it's like, gotta get the job, gotta get the car, gotta get, right?
Hmm.
And this time I didn't want to do that. So I had a friend that I've known this girl since my son was a toddler, and we used to hang out, we used to party together and whatever. But we've like ran into each other so often through the years, and we just happened to be in county jail together. And I went to safety and she went to ISF, and she offered me a room when I came home. And I asked my PO, and he said, "She's on probation." Absolutely not. But I'm going to tell you how my God works is, when I called my mom to come pick me up, she's like, "I got COVID. You can't come here for 6 days." And so I called my PO and he said, "I will let you go stay with that girl, but by next Sunday, you better be at your mama's and not a day after. Don't make me regret this." And I said, "Okay." And I did. I stayed with Haley. It was calm. It was peaceful. It's a good way to kind of step slowly. Then when I moved back in with my mom when I was supposed to, I moved in with her, and not even a week, 10 days later, they had some kind of termite infestation in her apartment, and they had to rip a whole wall out. They had to rip, like, the whole like the porch above her, they
Hmm.
had to rip all that shit out. And so they had to move in with my sister. At that time, I wasn't allowed at my sister's house because my brother in law wouldn't allow me around my nieces, right?
Hmm.
At that time. And so my kids and my mom were moving in with my sister, and I had nowhere to go. And so I called my PO, and he said, "Look, I'm going to let you move in with this girl, but don't you make me regret it." And it was a great place, and I got to slowly step into all the responsibilities, and I got to move a little more at my own pace than what I would have gotten to living at my mom's. I lived there for about 3 months, and then I got my own townhome. And I'm still here through this time. I went to a bunch of meetings, worked with a sponsor, did those type of things. But I think what's really important about what I've done since I've been home is, number one, I've been able to be present as a mother in a way that I never have before.
Yeah.
My son, when I came home, while I was at the halfway house, they let me go to his high school graduation. He was graduating high school. So I missed so much of his life, and I have taught him that he does not fucking need me, he really didn't want much to do with me when I came home. But we have repaired those relationships, and both of my children, my daughter wanted to move in with me right away. She just wanted out of my Grammy's house and move in with me, no matter how ugly that looked and whatever, like no matter what living with me looked like, she wanted to be here. But both of my kids have, issues with their mental health. They both have abandonment issues and their attachment styles. They have, neither one of them's fathers have really been there for them.
Hmm.
My daughter's father, now that he's out of prison, he tries. And my son's father, he's now an alcoholic. My son's the one that doesn't want anything to do with him now. He spent years not wanting anything to do with my son, and now the tables how they have turned.
Yeah. Yeah.
But both of my kids grew up feeling like their parents didn't care about them, and all I've shown my kids is that some dude or some drug was more important than them, right? And so since I've been home, I take a very active role in my children's life. My son may be an adult, but I take him to mental health appointments. I take him like he goes to a like psychiatrist, and he goes to therapy. My daughter she goes to therapy, and I make sure they go to every single appointment. My son was kind of falling back in college a little bit. Just we were struggling finding the right medication for him and stuff like that. And so I started scooping him up a couple times a week, making him come over to my house and do homework with me, since we're both in college. And now it's just different. Like he and I we're really, really close. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we enjoy going to concerts together. We enjoy hanging out together, and he told me a while back, he may never really think of me as his mom, but he does think of me as like a best friend. And
Yeah.
that's good enough for me,
Yeah.
you know? Because in all fairness, my mother is his mom. She raised him. I birthed him, but she raised him for the most part. My daughter, this is her senior year in high school. She's been living with me full time for about a year and a half now, but almost the whole 3 years. She's been here at least on the weekends, but for about a year and a half, she's lived with me full time. And we have a great relationship. She gets on my damn nerves. But we have a great she's 17, man. She's a 17-year-old girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro. And right now I'm helping my son move into the dorms for school this semester. I think it'll be good for him because he likes to crawl into his cave and play video games and forget the world. And I'm like, bro, we're social creatures. You need social interaction.
Yeah.
So I've talked him into moving into the dorms, and I think it's going to be great for him. We were just shopping for stuff yesterday. My relationship with my mom is good. uh, you know, I have the sister both of my sisters stepped up and have helped with my kids while I was gone so much, but I have one particular sister that would pay my mom's rent so her and the kids would have a roof over their head, if she was struggling. She has brought them to Disney. She has just done, and I don't think that sometimes we realize how our addictions or incarceration or anything else affect other people,
Yeah.
'cause I sure didn't until I did my amends with that sister, because she was like, "You've stolen from me." And the things you have stolen is you have corrupted my relationship with my mother. You've corrupted my relationship with my husband. You've corrupted my relationship with my niece and my nephew because I can't be fun Aunt Lily. I've got to be the authoritarian.
Right.
And I can't have a conversation with my mom now without it involving her needing money. Just whatever the case may be. Um, uh, I didn't realize all those things, right? I mean, I didn't realize what I thought she hated me for a lot of years. I didn't realize what a showing of love it is
Yeah.
her to step in like that, right? And so now my sisters and I are we're hanging out more, we're, healing. My brother, well, my stepbrother that I've told you about earlier, we lost him to alcoholism a little over a year ago. And so that's been really hard, right? And I've lost some people. I lost a lot of people while I was locked up, but I've lost some people since I've been clean, but I haven't felt the need to get high behind it.
Yeah.
There's just something that's different for me today. That's not my go-to anymore. My relationship with my dad is probably the thing that has changed the most. My dad, if you notice, I say my daddy again, my dad's always been in my corner, even when I thought he wasn't. He's always been my number one cheerleader, you know. And for someone who they used to hide their purses and shit when I would come around, or like not being allowed at my sister's house, which I'm welcome to go swim at my sister's pool even when they're not home. Now my brother-in-law doesn't keep me away from my nieces and nephews, but my dad, like I said, they used to hide their purses. A couple of weeks ago, my dad went to Thailand and asked me to go babysit their dogs and stay in their really nice house and lay out by their pool while they were gone. So I never in a million years could have imagined the life that I live today. So just through all this healing and whatever, I'd had a job at Golden Corral, and I left there to try to do, like, I was sick of working all the holidays and all the weekends. It sucks, and like my family would be like, we're having these good relationships now, and they're getting to do stuff on the weekends together, like go hang out in somebody's pool, and I can't because I gotta work. Or
Yeah.
given I gotta work. So I found a job that was like a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And I worked there for like 9 months. I kept getting a couple of raises. And then just all of a sudden out of nowhere, I got laid off. Well, it just so happened to coincide with when they were doing a RSPS class. And so a long time ago, a PO had asked me about being a recovery coach and that if I paid for it, they would reimburse me, or they would like take it off of what I owed for probation or whatever. And I thought about doing it, but I was working at the plant, so it really didn't seem that important, right?
Yeah.
And so I took the class, and then I found out that you could be a mental health peer support also. And I was like, how cool,
Yeah.
And I took that class and then did, of course, the like development program, the PACE one, you know, peer program, which I thought was great because I got to meet so many wonderful people like you. But right after I finished the RSPS, I already had it set up to do my hours with a local foundation. It's called the Loula Foundation. And it's just so crazy, that when I find it on Peer Force and I put in like, hey, I want information about this. Like I need, some peer support hours and whatever. The director that messages me back is someone I know, you know? So that was great. And it ended up taking me forever to get my intern license because of
Hmm.
my background. So it was, a bunch of this and documentations and support letters from people and all of this and that. But I did finally, and by that time I'd already taken the MHPS training too and
Hmm.
started the program. But I've been working with the Loula Foundation for about 10 months now. So let me tell y'all about Loula. Okay.
Yes, please
So
tell us.
yeah, so we're a nonprofit organization. So it's kind of like our mission, like we believe that families are better and stronger together. The mission is that every child grow up in a home, a safe and loving home with healthy and supportive parents. So the goal is to create safe and loving homes for kids through family recovery. So we do a lot of work with parents who have had substance abuse or domestic violence issues. So we do, peer support services, local resources like housing and food stamps and whatever. We can help with those things. Do CPS navigation. We have some people that are like really good at CPS navigation and can help navigate CPS cases so that families, remain together and stable, like creating stable households. We also do like education to help build stable homes for kids, recovery resources. We can hook them up with recovery resources. Yeah. So basically we want to bridge the gap, right? Because a lot of things that you find like battered partner shelters or rehabs are short term, right? We
Yeah.
want to bridge the gap and offer long term services and peer support services. And we want to make sure that parents have that one thing, like when a family is like in recovery, when a parent's in recovery or a family is fleeing from domestic violence situation, it only takes one missed bill to cause someone to spiral,
Right.
so
Yep.
we just want to support families as best as we can so that families can stay together, and that's what we're about.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
love.
Yeah, I know you do. And you've been, let's see, you've been with them, you said, for 10 months, and then you're gonna I think you said you've been doing your hours there, but I think you said you're trying to get on there permanently, not permanently, or trying to get on the
Well,
payroll.
I did my hours here, and then I continued to volunteer.
Yeah.
Uh, and we started so these people at this foundation are so awesome. So when my director, shout out Alicia, I love you, when she found out that my heart is like in reentry and
Yeah.
coming home from prison and people that are incarcerated, she has made it to where we've started initiatives where I get to go into the same halfway house that I came home through, and I get to go and facilitate groups there. And then we also go into Jasper County Jail and facilitate groups there. But that is not something that Loula did until my director knew that's where my heart was and made it possible. So they've given me so much, and it's so fulfilling.
And didn't you just go in recently? Didn't you just go in recently and somebody told you that they were like, they wanted you to go into Jefferson County or something like that?
Okay, so here's how crazy. So we were leaving Jasper County Jail last Wednesday, and coming in as we were going out was one of the ladies that was my guard in Jefferson County Jail. And I stopped and talked to her, and she found out what I've been doing and whatever. And I gave her our card, and she was like, or why don't y'all go into this jail? And I said, well, we just haven't, I guess we don't have the right connections, or they're not letting us. She was like, I got you. Give me your card. So hopefully we will expand a little bit there too. And yes, I have been a volunteer with them for 10 months, but today is my first day as a paid employee.
Oh, you did get it.
Yeah.
Yay! That's
Today is
awesome.
as a paid employee. So the wonderful board there and the wonderful founders there, Wendy and Cindy, I also love you ladies if y'all see this. Um have given me the ability to continue doing what I'm doing and not have to quit to pay bills.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
no,
and so I also wanted to mention too, in case there are any girls out there, or not just girls, but anybody who has been incarcerated, that if you're, if you are down in the dumps, or, don't, or like if your head is like spinning and, your head is telling you a whole bunch of shit, and you're self-sabotaging or whatever.
I have no idea what that's about.
I don't either. I don't either. But anyway, listen, Stacia is a miracle because she has gone back to school. And why don't you tell them what your grade point average is?
I was so scared to go back to school because I hadn't been in school in over 20 years, right? And, I was pretty sure that drugs had fried my brain. I don't feel like I'm very smart, but y'all, I've been back to school for a whole 5-class semester, and I took one class during the summer, and I've maintained a 4.0 GPA and actually got a invitation to an honor society. Can you believe that?
There you go. If you can stay away from the drugs and alcohol and jail and prison and get out and, you know, at least shut your trap and listen for a little bit, you can do miraculous things and you can be productive and you can help others and make good of yourself.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Me too. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm telling you. It's an amazing life. And, you don't have to keep digging. I promise. Can just stop. And the thing is I used to love drama and chaos, and I honestly can't stand it anymore. I can't stand to be around it anymore.
I know exactly what you mean.
And
And I
I'm
think
like,
I think I would when I didn't have like drugs and alcohol bringing chaos into my life, like I said, I did it with toxic relationships,
me
and now
too.
I'm just like, I just can't. I just can't with I want peace, bro. I
Yeah, me
want,
too. Me too.
and there's only one person I will allow to make my house unpeaceful other than myself, and that's my daughter because she's just 17 and that happens.
Yeah, right now it's my cats, and I'm looking at my cats right now, and they're stirring shit up over here, and I'm like going,
Yeah.
okay,
That's enough.
but y'all, whatever, do your thing. I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, so it's a better life like this, and it's crazy the way that stuff messes up your brain, and it really is a lie living that way.
Mhm.
It really is a fucked up way to live, and when you're
It's
in
not
it
living.
I know, and when you're in it, you think it's like the greatest thing ever, and then when you're out of it, you're going, "Oh my god, like I lived like that?"
I remember after I had been clean for that for that like year and 9 months, and I relapsed, and I remember getting to this point of misery where I was like, I knew where the answer was, right? I knew where the answer was, but I still had no fucking idea how to get there. Like I had no idea how to get back there, even though somewhere in me I knew, well, you need to you need to go to rehab. You need to or something like you need to sit down and detox and you need to go back to a meeting, whatever. Like I knew that that's where the answer could be for me, but I still didn't have any idea how to get back there, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
You know,
If there's one thing that I don't know about you, but if there's one thing that I see at least the women do all the time, 'cause I used to be a house manager for a sober living, but, the girls that would come to the house straight from the rehab, instead of giving themselves a chance and just doing what they were supposed to do and, getting settled and going to the meetings and doing their chores and getting a job and, doing the basic things. The first thing they would do is get in a relationship. That's the first thing they would do, and I'd be like, "Please, that like, please don't." Like, I would be like, just like, please just give yourself a chance and focus on your sobriety first.
mm,
Please."
but that's that whole the need to like of codependency, right?
Right,
And,
exactly.
and
Absolutely.
it takes so much time to work on that.
I know. I know. But it's another addiction. It's another trying to
It
fill the hole.
It is.
It's
Or,
another
like me, like when things get too peaceful, and I'm glad that I'm finally like kind of letting go of that and transitioning and growing out of that. But when things got peaceful, I swear I'd look for the most toxic motherfucker I could find. I didn't want to put drugs in or any of that shit, but I needed something chaotic in my life because I didn't know how to live with peace.
I know.
And
Uh,
I also, um, didn't know how to not be codependent. I didn't know how to be by myself, um, for a long time.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Yep.
Like, you look
But
like a
but
bad idea. What time?
yeah, of course.
But
But once you are, and I mean, it's not just that, because even when I first got sober, I ran to shopping. So it doesn't matter. We all tried to we're all cross addicted. Like, it could be shopping, it could be food, it could be whatever.
and
We're
do it
still
with
gonna
something
try to
else. Yeah.
fill it with something.
So I think it's so funny that you say that because the first time I got clean, like that year and 9 months,
Yeah.
I bought up every Star Wars t-shirt I could find because 27 Star Wars t-shirts. Yeah. I had
Crazy.
Star Wars t-shirts in my closet that I never even wore.
Oh my god.
But
Funny.
yeah.
Well, Stacia, thank you so much for sharing your story. And then of course, you know, um promoting Lula, the foundation, and all that kind of stuff, because it's very important. More importantly, to let people know that they're not alone, and you know, and that there is hope out there, and that there is another way to go, and it's not too late to change. And and your life experience can also help other people too.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on. It's been
Of
an
course.
experience, and thank you so much for letting me shamelessly plug Lula.
Of course. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. Love
Yeah,
I love promoting stuff like that, because it's important.
we are super excited. We have been growing. We've only been around since 2022, and so we are growing, and we're super excited for it. We actually have a fundraiser next week, and we sold out. Sold out. So
Awesome.
yeah, like we're super super stoked. We're just going to continue to grow. We've got some great founders, a great board, and we have great leadership with our directors. I just can't wait to see what's next. What's next? Yeah, it's super
That's
exciting.
awesome. Well, I hope you get to go to more jails, and stuff, and that stuff expands too. I
I do
think that
too. Yeah.
I think that's needed, actually.
I think so too. Yeah. I'm really excited for it. But I think, it's a big thing like, if we want to stop abuse and neglect in homes and our children like my kids, they grew up broken people, right? And
Yeah,
so here they are, 17 and 21 years old, and we're trying to put these pieces back together and mend broken places. And, what if there would have been a Lula here when I was going through all these things that I went through, right?
right,
Because how do we raise happy, healthy kids?
right.
You you can't teach a skill you don't possess. So if you're not healthy, you can't raise healthy kids. So it's got to start with the parents. If we want homes to be free of drug abuse and neglect and abuse, it's got to start with us.
Well, that's
So,
great, and I'm glad that Lula's there. And
and
I'm glad.
I know you have our website, Loula
Yes, ma'am, and
Foundation.
all of that stuff will be in the episode description. I'll put it all in the episode description.
Yay.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, so at the end of the podcast, ask um I ask each guest 10 questions, and they're the same questions I ask every guest, but I like to hear everybody's answers on the same question. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay. So here's the first question. What skill would you like to ultimately master, and why?
This does sound weird to some people. I would love to know how to blow glass.
God, that's an awesome answer.
So I'm fascinated by that. And
Yeah.
like I watched this dude make this pumpkin and it was gorgeous, but that looks like so difficult and it looks so damn hot.
Yeah. I've heard it it looks easy, but I hear like you have to have like like lung capacity.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well,
like it really is hard, is what I've
to me,
heard.
it doesn't look easy because he's like got his timing and like he made this glass pumpkin and then I watched him also he made a purse. Like who the hell needs a glass purse? But it was gorgeous, right? It
Yeah,
had like
yeah,
purple and it faded to clear, had these purple spikes all over it. It was so cool. And I was like, I would love to know how to do that, but I do not have the 40 years it would take me to learn.
right, yeah. But
Because
that's a cool thing. That's a
but
cool
yeah,
skill to have for sure.
I would like to know how to do that.
Okay, so the second question is, what has been the highlight of your life thus far and why?
That's I mean, my kids, right? You know, both of them as babies when they were born, but even more than that now. And the relationships that we have, like the way my son and my relationship is growing and changing and my daughter, God love her. Like I said, she's 17, she gets on my nerves, but at the same time, I love her to pieces. She loves me to pieces and she's so protective over me too, you know?
That's
Like
cool.
let somebody bring up my past. She feels some type of way. She gets all defensive for me. It's adorable.
That's
Yeah, no, we have a great relationship and I love spending time with my family. Man. I missed a lot and so I love when like my sister throws a pool party or my dad has game night or whatever. I'm all about it. Like I'll drop pretty much anything to go just hang out with my family, man. I never
yeah,
thought I'd be one that's like, "I wanna go hang out with my parents."
yeah,
But I do, yeah.
yeah. That that sounds like family's important to you now. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Used to not be, like, I always thought my friends were more important than family, but, I mean, I have friends that are important, but my family has taken on a different importance
Yeah.
over the past few years, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. Okay, so third question, what risk have you not taken that you would still like to take, and why haven't you?
I don't know. I don't know if you really call it a risk, but remember how I said I loved theater, right?
Yeah,
And so my niece has been doing Port Arthur Little Theater for the past year or two. And my sister keeps telling me I need to get into it. And I keep telling her, freaking when? I don't really have time for that. But I think part of it's that I don't know when I would make time for it. And the other part of it is I would be scared shitless to get on stage after years, like I think it would be really scary to me now and it would feel like a risk, even though it was something that I felt so comfortable doing back then. It's
yeah,
like I'm kind of a different person now.
yeah,
But at the same time, I think it'd still be fun, but
yeah.
scary and risky. Yes.
Well, it's probably because back then, probably because now the mask has been taken off because you know what I mean? Like, now you're your authentic self,
Mhm.
whereas before you were kind of like, it's kinda different now. You were
And then but then also I feel like that's a skill that constantly has to be cultivated, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's something that constantly has to be practiced and whatever, and so we go to, like, Port Arthur Little Theater and watch these people perform, and I'm like, you can look up there and be like, "Oh, he's been a theater kid since he was, like, 5." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
so good, and I would be like, I would it don't need anything to make me feel inadequate.
right, yeah. I get it, I get it. Okay, so okay, 4th question. Do you have any nicknames or pet names?
Okay, so most of my family calls me Stace.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but I don't know why I have this nickname from when I was a kid. They would call me Tater Butt. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know if it came from like them trying to say station, say like tater butt. I have no idea where the fuck it came from, but and then my sisters and I we call each other sister and
Sister?
sister. Like, hey sister.
Yeah,
And then one of my sisters calls me Stacia instead of
Stacia. Oh my god, that's cute. Okay, Tater Bet. Well, next question. What what person, living, dead, or a character do you most relate to and why?
Ooh, that's a good. question. I'm wearing the shirt too. I'm gonna say Lydia from Beetlejuice because I myself am strange and unusual.
I think you've proven that. So,
And that's so tough. But I admire my dad because he is the model of like stability. And he is that person that like, he does not make impulsive decisions. He
mhm.
is going to gather information, look at all the facts, weigh out every scenario, sleep on it for 2 days, and then make a decision. And I'm not like that at all. I admire my mother because she is so super selfless. My sister Lindy too, because she is selfless and ridiculously generous. I admire my other sister Andrea because she's the best mom I've ever seen. I admire my stepmom Linda because, and really I shouldn't even call her she's my bonus mom, then she's mommio. And I admire her because she is a savvy businesswoman who sacrificed a lot to build an empire. I admire the director of Lula. She's got like Alicia, she's got like the biggest heart in the world. It's crazy. Like, I don't know how she fits all that love in there, dude. And she's so supportive. She is so supportive and uplifting. It's crazy. Like, yeah, I don't know anybody like her. Yeah, I admire so many people for so many different reasons.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Like,
And you can carry all that stuff with you and hopefully take that stuff with you and hopefully learn from that stuff and be that.
yeah,
That's what I hope.
but that's something I've been doing since I've gotten home is I have started to pay attention to the way other people move through the world.
Yeah,
You
that's what I do.
Like,
Yeah.
I've started to pay attention to how people move through life because I don't know how to live, right? Like, learning how to live and how to live as an adult. So I've been learning from people,
Yeah.
about things that bro, I bought life insurance a couple months ago. What an adult thing for me. I bought life insurance. Like I never lived in that kind of way where I paid bills and invested money and bought life insurance. Like, my kids were going to be screwed if anything happened to me. But, I just watch how other people move through the world and start picking up healthy habits and traits and learning how to manage money and, how to not be so impulsive and, just things like that.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Okay, next question. This is a trick question.
Mm.
And I'll explain in a minute. What has been your biggest mistake or regret and why? And usually mistakes are learning experiences. So that's why I say it's a kind of a trick question.
So if you would have asked me that's a tough one because part of me is like not going to college right out of high school. I would also say all the time that I missed with my kids, but honestly, I would say that what we are building now is probably better than what we would have had when I was only half present mentally and emotionally,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, or, I could say the same thing about my addiction, right? Like, if I could go back, would I change it? Absolutely not. It's who built me into who I am today. Is it regrettable things? Sure. Would I change them? Probably not. Because I've learned so much through
Right. Yeah. Okay, what is your favorite curse word?
it. I mean, I would say fuck, right?
Yeah.
But I also really have to mention, I love how people's asshole puckers up when you say the word cunt. I don't think we're going to be able to post this on Lula's page.
That one's not my favorite, but which one?
Fuck.
Yes.
Could be used in so many ways.
Yes,
But I love how people cringe when you say the other one. It really bothers some people.
yes, it does. But I always tell people I can more fuck the word fuck into many different there's so many ways you
Mhm.
can use the word fuck.
There really is. It's so universal. Yeah.
It is.
It's so interchangeable.
It is. Okay, so this question is really I mean, this is for I like asking people this question. But I ask it because I like to show people that even though we all come from different backgrounds, that we all have like the same issues and that's where we all come together. So that's the reason for this question. So do you know what your ethnicity or your heritage is?
So think my grandparents on my mother's side were mostly German.
Okay.
You know what? I really I really don't know. Other than I'm a mutt, probably got a little bit of everything in me.
Yeah.
I think my grandmother on my mother's side, her family came from Germany. 'Cause I remember hearing when I was young that they changed their name from Castlebert to Castleberry when they moved to the US. So, but other than that, I mean,
No
I got
clue.
a little bit of a lot in me probably. Yeah,
That's cool. That's cool. I think a lot of us do. So,
for sure.
but it just shows that, we all come from different backgrounds and we all have the same thing, same addictions, whatever, and so we're all similar is
Yeah, it doesn't
basically what.
discriminate.
Exactly. Okay, so last question. What would you hope your higher power, God, the universe, creator, whatever, would say to you when you die or pass or transition?
Job well done.
I think that's probably what he would say, or he would say.
Maybe perhaps unconventional, but well done.
Well, it took you forever, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
to take the scenic route, do we?
Exactly.
But that's what I would hope.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's what's
Yeah.
that's probably what's gonna happen, so well, anyway, Stacia, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time, and, I hope everything works out, and I hope more jails open up for you guys, and, I wish you guys all the best for your, fundraiser.
Thank you.
And and for everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. And, stay tuned for the next episode. So take care. Bye.